Hello. Today I'd like to talk about globalization and how the internet has affected globalization. To start, I'd like to talk about the historical effects of the internet. So in 1994, the internet began and there weren't as many users. Today, there are billions of users. But what is an internet user? An internet user is a person that has access to the internet where they live. So the important aspect of this is that the person has access to the internet. They don't have to necessarily use it, but they have access to it. The internet has brought the globe together in an important aspect, mostly because it's taken away constraints like location and scale and time zone changes. And I think an example of the time zone change is a technician in India could help a customer out while the technician in the US is not on duty. I think that's important because it just brings the globe together. That constraint of time zone change is no longer there, and people can be helped whenever they need it. So, the internet users. Now, remember that definition that I brought up before, a person that has access to the internet. So, these are all the people that have access to the internet, the top 15 countries in this table. And this table is brought to us by the internetlivestats.com. And so, this is looking at just the number of people per country and how they rate based off of the other countries. Now, to take it back to a different scale, here are the bottom countries of this table. So the Marshall Islands only has 10,709 internet users in their country, compared to China at the top spot that has over 700 million users of the internet. So currently, there are 3.3 billion users in the world of the internet. But when I was showing you that table before, I was just looking at the number of users. I think it's important to point out that the US, it was number 3, is actually 20th if you're just looking at the percentage of the population. And Iceland, I didn't show you this, but was 154th and actually goes to the first place. 100% of Iceland has access to the internet. Now, if we look at this table in a more manipulated state, we can base it off a percentage and not of people. So, like I was saying before, Iceland jumps all the way to first place, but in the left-hand corner or in the left-hand column, it still states that it's 154th place. But 100% of these people have access to the internet, which is interesting because now the UK, which was ninth, now drops down a couple spots because they have 92.6% saturation of internet users. So it's interesting to look at this table in a more manipulated state because then we can see, even though Iceland doesn't have millions of people in it, everyone has access. Everyone can get to the internet in Iceland, which is really incredible. How can companies use this information to their advantage? According to the article, globalization is becoming more about data and less about stuff. There are 5 key ideas that show that the internet is still affecting globalization today. Number 1, it doesn't have to be about being physically present in the other countries. By this, it means that you don't have to place a building in the other country in order to be present. You could just be internet present and still have an impact in that country. Number 2, the internet can help companies find the fastest way to help their customers through reviews and surveys and internet-based feedback from customers. Number 3, even though companies want to make an impact, it is important to note that you don't need to customize your products or your services in order to make the world happy. For example, Apple sells the iPhone. They do not customize their iPhone in order to make every single person, every single country satisfied. We all know Apple, and the iPhone as one simple product. We know the iPhone as the iPhone. All of us do. Number 4, the internet can make or break trends like crazy. This is important to note because companies need to sell their products at their best capacity. They need to make sure it's quality before they bring it out to the world because reviews can destroy or create a trend. And the last one, the fifth one, it creates more of a competitive field. Digital leaders can find opportunities of business before any of their competitors that are not using the internet. And this is important to note because this shows that the internet has that great of an impact, not only on globalization, but creating a company in general. And that's a very important idea that I want to leave you with. These are my references. Thank you.